Stephen Howson, this is Full Time Devils and this is your MUFC Transfer Daily. First one that I've been back on. We've been doing this for 2 years and we used to do them in the morning, but you know what? We thought we'd have a better chance of reacting to the news if we did them as the news starts coming out before it's in the papers. Tomorrow's transfers today is what you're getting on Full Time Devils. So, live at 11 o'clock UK time every single weekday throughout the transfer window. We're going to be giving you all of the top level transfers coming out, and you guys can get involved and get in the comments with us as well. So, what we're going to talk about today, I hear you ask. There's only one thing that we're going to be talking about today, isn't it? And that is Antoine Griezmann and the merry-go-round that we've been led on today. It's been absolutely mind-melting, hasn't it? It's been every single direction and every single possibility that it could have been today is what it's been today. It's been on, it's been off, could be happening, it's going to be delayed, and then it's basically nobody knows. How about we stop putting so much credence and stop overreacting to every single change of direction in this transfer? How about that? How about we all have a little solemn vow to each other that we just wait this one out a little bit and see what happens? Now, we can talk about and analyse what's been said, but no one's putting any eggs into any baskets just yet, are we? So let's get into what's happened so far. So, all aboard the Griezmann roller coaster. Here's how it went down today. So the first thing that came out this morning was in the Guardian, and there was a couple of tweets from Ducker, and there was also the news breaking that Atletico Madrid had their transfer ban upheld. And the news that sort of started to come out, and the MEN quickly followed suit, and several journalists, all quite close to the club, which makes me think that it was a briefing from the club itself, saying that it's all cooled on a Griezmann front from Manchester United. Then the news breaks that Atletico Madrid have had their transfer ban upheld, and then it comes into everything that's happened this evening. So let's get into what's happened this evening then. So the first thing that happened this evening, which sent everyone into an absolute meltdown, was Griezmann dropped something on Instagram with the hashtag Atleti, hashtag altogether, and says, now more than ever is the translation. So what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean anything, does it? It doesn't say that I'm not leaving. It doesn't say that I'm going. It just says now more than ever. Now, is it now more than ever because they're going to have a transfer ban and when he goes it's going to be a difficult window for them or a difficult first few months of the season? Is it now more than ever because you lot are going to need each other because he thinks so highly of himself and he's going, so you lot are really going to need each other? Is it that? Could be that. Is it? Who knows? Nobody knows what it means. It doesn't mean anything, essentially. Stop listening to players, stop listening to agents, stop listening to managers in a transfer window because everyone's playing a massive game of which we're the mugs getting caught up in it as well. So, moving on. Paul Pogba decides that he wants to get in a little bit of this posting on social media action. Loves a bit of that stuff, doesn't he? So he posts a really weird picture of him and Griezmann. And the translation is, always with my guy, angry mode, ready for tomorrow. What does that mean? It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It means they got a game on tomorrow. That's it, top and bottom of it. So, whatever. Ultimately, this transfer has been on. It was 24 hours ago. It was the most on transfer in the history of on transfers, wasn't it? 24 hours later, maybe everyone got a little bit carried away. Someone said reel it back in. Maybe they've reeled it back in a little bit too far. If you remember what was going on with the Paul Pogba transfer last season, all of that blah, blah, blah advert that they decided to create was all a big misdirection. There was lots of that involved. He signed that ball for those two lads from the Football Italia YouTube channel and said that he wasn't leaving. He was handed a load of shirts while he was over in America and said, which of these are you going to be wearing next year? And he ummed and ahed on it and then picked the Juventus one up. There's all sorts of misdirection and basically straight up lies that goes on in these transfer windows. Don't take any notice of them. Read them, digest them, have a think yourself about who's put this source out there. So this morning, I read it all. I read all that stuff from yesterday as well when so many people were staking their reputations on this being an absolute done deal. Then I read all that this morning of people saying, oh, now United are cooling their interest, but we're still keeping an eye on him. That strikes me as people not actually really having a clue about what's going on. My gut feeling is that this transfer is probably still going to happen. Let him get this little France international duty out of the way and let's see what happens. If he doesn't come, then I'm sure Jose Mourinho's got some absolutely banging targets lined up on the other side of it. If he does come, absolutely banging because he's a top player and he's definitely going to improve us. Away from Griezmann, we had Ryan Sessignon, who's a top player actually, who's been ripping it up at the moment down at Fulham. The Telegraph chief football writer says he doesn't seem convinced, throwing a load of clubs in, and also said he could stay at Fulham for an improved deal. So, again, that's just an absolute bogus transfer in it, and that's one of those that we say, hey, throw United in the mix so people are going to click on it. Good player, Sessignon. Whether or not he's going to come to United, I don't know. We do have a confirmed deal. Doesn't really involve Manchester United, but Statman Dave's going to be absolutely devoed. No idea if he's sitting at home crying, watching all reruns of Darren Fletcher tackles or not. But Darren Fletcher has gone to Stoke Alona, confirmed deal. A little bit of a shock there, but they've got a really experienced side that they're building at Stoke. The last one that we're going to talk about today is a bit of a big one, and I have to frame this one for you a little bit. So it's in the Independent, and it says Andrea Bellotti. Let me just pull it up. Quoted by Miguel Delaney, right? And I need to give you the background on this one because the background on this one is very important. So, Manchester United will target Andrea Bellotti and Romelu Lukaku, right? That's two players that play in the same position. That makes no sense, Miguel. What are you on about? After losing hope in Antoine Griezmann chase. Now, may I refer the honourable gentleman in the comments to what Mr. Delaney said yesterday. Manchester United confident. That wasn't yesterday's. Yesterday's was Atletico Madrid confident they can hold on to Antoine Griezmann as club considers new contract offer. That was yesterday. That was 24 hours ago. On the 25th of May, so inside this week, all from Miguel Delaney, Manchester United confident of clinching Antoine Griezmann deal by the end of June. Which is it, mate? Which is it? Someone's either feeding you a load of rhubarb or you're just changing your mind. What is it? Which one of them is it? There's plenty of examples about that, and we will be separating the facts from the bollocks all summer long on those. Right, let's see what you guys are saying in the old comments. Bale. I think you want me to talk about Bale. Right, what happened with Bale? 3 weeks ago, was it maybe? 3.5, 4 weeks ago? Somebody said Gareth Bale has a verbal agreement to join Manchester United if they win the Europa League and are into the Champions League next season. Bish bash bosh, Wednesday night last week, Manchester United take the Europa crown and enter the Champions League at the group stage like a boss. And then someone went, oh shit, we're going to get called out on the bollocks that we wrote now, aren't we? So what do we do? Tell them if he gets on the bench on Saturday, then he can come because he's really unhappy. Come on, son. Come on, son. How stupid do you think we are? Now, Gareth Bale might be the sort of player that Manchester United are really going for. Personally, I think he would definitely improve us. And he isn't playing so much at Real Madrid. And Real Madrid is one of those weird clubs that you actually can get a player out of now and then. If you look at the players that they have to move on every year because they go for this crazy Galactico signings sort of policy. And actually, Manchester United are sort of falling into that trap recently where we're offloading a lot of big players at the same time as well, season after season. Then you can get good players from Real Madrid because they've got such a surplus of them. It's not like getting them out of Spurs where they've got 2 or 3 or a club of that level. These have to generate a massive turnover of players because at the moment he's not playing and he's taught that they're going to spend about 100 million on someone like Eden Hazard. So actually I don't think it's crazy to think that Gareth Bale could end up at Manchester United. It's just the circumstances behind these little leaks that we've had. Oh, if we win the Europa, he'll come. That kind of makes sense. You saying that if he's on the bench for the final game of the season or not doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Where should we improve? I definitely think we need a number 9 if we've not got Zlatan next year because that's something that absolutely needs replacing. I think we could also probably do with a number 10. I think Wayne Rooney's going to be moved on. And I like the idea of, I think Griezmann or Rodriguez was definitely being lined up, and I think one was our Champions League list and one was our Europa League list. So I think that if we fail in our attempts to get Griezmann, we'll probably get Rodriguez, as I think he's our second choice guy. People mentioning Dybala and Lacazette, obviously, because his name's been thrown up into the mix recently. And I think both of those players are very good footballers. But ultimately, this isn't Tesco in a transfer window, is it? This isn't a place where you can walk in and pick up a player off a shelf. There has to be negotiations, there has to be scouting, there has to be personality sort of traits that you have to look into to find out, are they going to fit in with the personality of the rest of this squad? And that's why scouting and that can take so long with a player, because you really have to drill down. If you're investing 50, 60, 70, 80 million pounds into a player, you're not going to do that very quickly. You're going to take your time and really make sure that he's the right man for that job. At least I hope so anyway. Paul Lucas in the comments there saying a left back would be nice. I agree. A first choice left back doesn't really stand out at Manchester United at the moment. We've got lots of players who can play left back, but no one who goes, when I'm fit, I'm the man. Now Luke Shaw for me could be that man. He's still only 21 years of age. He's 22 in the summer. Next month I think he's 22. So he's still very young and still very capable of being able to turn this thing around. Demi Mitchell did fantastic on his debut. Looks fantastic, but he's a lot to learn to be a first-choice left-back. And I think another season in the 23s as a first-choice left-back will do him the world of good. We've also got Cameron Borthwick-Jackson, but all of these have got question marks over them at the moment because Cameron's not played enough first-team football, Demi Mitchell's not played enough in that position, and Luke Shaw just can't seem to get fit on the back of his leg break. So do we need somebody else to come in? Dami had a fantastic game at left-back in the final against Ajax. Can he put himself forward and be someone that ends up being first choice? Maybe he can. He's been awful at left back for a lot of this season, but maybe as the season's gone on, he's actually clicked, understanding what Jose Mourinho wants, and looks a lot more solid, because he certainly did in the final. For me, he's a little bit weak going forward, and I definitely think that Manchester United need to be using our fullbacks as attacking fullbacks, like wing-backs, but I don't know. United should buy Mertens or Sanchez like RVP with Griezmann. Comments are going a little bit fast, can't really read them. Sanchez, yes, I really like the idea of Sanchez coming. I just don't think Arsenal will be willing to sell to us for anything like a reasonable fee. I think we'd end up getting completely screwed over by them in terms of the fee for him, but ultimately he's an absolutely top level footballer. He proved it in Premier League last year, stepped up in the FA Cup final, but got pocketed by Tuanzebe. So what does that tell you about Tuanzebe? Sanchez from Ajax. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say we've got a lot of young centre-backs at the club, and if we're going to sign another centre-back, I want an old head, a real master of those dark arts, and someone who can really be a leader from the back, because I think if you get a real leader from the back, then you could be onto something. Is Perisic happening? I don't know. I don't claim to know what's going on with these transfers. It seems like a Jose Mourinho signing. It seems like a fairly straightforward one, so I would have thought that one's probably going to happen with a minimal of fuss. Who's going to be the two defenders next season? I think he's going to go to the transfer market, whether that's right or wrong. I think he is going to go to the transfer market. I was really impressed with how Rojo and Bale was looking for those few games that they had together until Rojo got injured. I hope that he doesn't come in and sign someone absolutely mega and just completely bin him off. I don't know. Someone said, how do I fancy our chances in the Super Cup? Well, for starters, we don't know who we're playing, because the playoff for the Super Cup is this weekend, so we don't know who we've got in there just yet. And it's a friendly at the end of the day. It's like the Charity Shield. It's essentially a nothing game, isn't it? So it doesn't matter. It's a good night out. Sign Belotti. Belotti is a bit of a traditional, almost English-style centre-forward number 9. Holds the ball up quite well. Can definitely see him being a Jose Mourinho-type signing. But if you give me the choice over Belotti or Lukaku, I'm going with Romelu 100 times out of 100. It's just my gut feeling. He's already a mate with Pogba. If we're still getting Griezmann as well, having Griezmann, Lukaku and Pogba and Lingard in the squad, I don't think he'll start very much next season. But having all of those players in the squad and all of that sort of attitude and stuff and all of that team spirit can only be a good thing for us. People in the comments here saying Griezmann saga is over. I guarantee it's not. I guarantee that you're going to see at least another 2 weeks of it being the only thing people are talking about in the press. I absolutely guarantee it. People talking about Kluivert here in the comments, just mentioning his name, not really giving me anything to go off. Cheers for that. And Aubameyang, I think Aubameyang's probably going to be off to PSG. People saying Lindelof is basically done. Is it? I thought it was basically done in January. It didn't happen in January. That turned out to be a complete bogus made-up story, all coming from the Portuguese press, which is what's happening again. The Portuguese press are pushing this one, which makes me think that Benfica are pushing this one and not Manchester United. Lukaku loses his head sometimes. Who else lost his head? Eric Cantona, and he was magic. Let me have a player that plays on the edge. I love that stuff. How much would Lukaku cost? He would be worth it. So he's not a problem. Sign him. De Gea. Well, this one's going to rumble on, isn't it? We saw a couple of days ago that they supposedly rejected a fee for him. It might have been yesterday, actually. Rejected a fee for De Gea of around about 60 million, which I think is correct. No way is De Gea only worth 60 million. He's worth a little bit more change than that, I think. But it does feel to me like he's probably going to go at some point this summer. Does that mean that Romero gets the gloves to be number 1 next season? I don't know. I'm sure Jose's got his plan. I wouldn't mind Donnarumma. He's had a fantastic season at AC Milan. No way is that kid only 18 years old. Unbelievable. But yeah, he's had a fantastic season. A lot of experience for his young age already. And I'd be excited to see what we could do with him. But who knows? Kane can't do it in the Prem. What? Morata to United. I think he's off to Milan. Milan are throwing money around a little bit at the moment, aren't they? Bakayoko looks like he's going Chelsea. Good player, though. Definitely a good player. And I don't know how that's going to work with Chelsea next season. Maybe that's why Matic wants to come to United, because he's looking at the players Chelsea are signing and be like, I'm not getting no games. Bakayoko and Kante is a real energy-filled midfield, though. So, chances for the title next season, I think pretty strong. I said very giddily at the end of the season, if we get Champions League football, I think we'll win the title. I think we'll challenge, is my more considered sort of guesstimate. I think we'll definitely challenge. Neymar to United. It's never going away, that one, is it? It was rhubarb the day it got thought up, and I think it's still rhubarb today. Dyer. Dyer's a name that hasn't really gone away, has it? So I'm sort of believing that there might be something in the Dyer one. I don't quite understand it, but someone in the comments there just said, what sources can we trust? All and none at the same time, essentially. There's no one person, and it's certainly not anyone with an agent _, whatever, or that Indy Kaler bloke, or anyone that claims to be on Twitter telling you what's going on with the transfers. They don't know. Agents are dealing with hundreds of millions of pounds worth in contracts when you think about the wages and the transfer fee. No one's leaking the information that's about to happen on Twitter for free. I absolutely guarantee that. Nobody with agent whatever who pretends to be in the know, especially when they're in the know on every transfer that's going on across the world. Are you kidding me? Do you know how much money that person will be able to make by keeping it quiet and just working for betting companies? Trust me. If you knew what was going on with the transfer, you go like this, and you go and put bets on. It's as simple as that. I think DiMarzio obviously had it nailed on last season, but he's not got a 100% hit rate. No one's got a 100% hit rate because no one's got every finger in every pie that they need to know. Here's the thing. Some people know that guy's agent. Some people know that manager. Some people know this guy who works at the club doing this thing. Nobody has the complete picture overall, and it's as simple as that. Chicharito, I'm seeing that quite a lot. Obviously, Jose mentioned him. I don't think Jose is as unsubtle as to mention a guy a couple of months ago and then bring him home. But who knows? I think he's probably a little bit too small, especially if he got Griezmann. I don't think he's going to get Chicharito as well. I literally can't read these comments. They're going too fast. People just putting names in there. I don't know what you want me to do with just a name. How much should we get for De Gea? I think it's got to be about 80 million. If you add inflation from what Buffon was bought for all those years ago, I reckon you're looking at 70, 80 million, and I think he's in that sort of bracket, same as Buffon. So you've got to pay that sort of money for me. 60 million is sort of like literally the equivalent of what I think City or Chelsea, one of those two, paid for Sean Wright-Phillips. Is he the same as Sean Wright-Phillips? I don't think so. Forget that. Mbappe to Arsenal for 100 million euros. Wenger's never paying that sort of money for anybody. I wouldn't have thought so. Ross Barkley to United. No, thank you. He doesn't improve us in any way, shape or form. Griezmann is playing with our heart. It's probably not him in the grand scheme of things. Talk about Peter Crouch. Why do I want to talk about Peter Crouch? Peter Crouch is a circus attraction who was stealing a living as a professional footballer. How about that? Who can replace Griezmann? I'm not an Atletico Madrid fan, so you'd have to ask Atletico Madrid fan, because that's who's going to need to replace that, aren't they? Right, I think that will do. Remember, 11 o'clock for tomorrow's transfers today. Giving you the news as it breaks, literally as it breaks, with that Belotti one from Miguel Delaney. But make sure, always check your sources. And if you see someone completely flip-flopping inside a day or two, make sure you send it us, and we'll stick it on a transfer review video on Monday. Thank you for joining us, as always. Great chatting to you in the comments. I'll see you soon.